there was something about John Lennon. He was a pop star, but he seemed very uncomfortable with being a pop star. And so, in my case, there was a relatability to him because he was an outsider and he was other than the mainstream. Even though he was famous, he had issues with his fame. And he spoke out about causes. He may not have always been right, but he was very vocal. And he was outrageous. And he was entertaining. And he was, even when he went into hibernation, there was something fascinating about that. Because why did he give it up? He actually he cloistered himself inside the Dakota to become a house husband. And, you know, to many people that was relatable and refreshing. I mean, the 60s were over. The 70s were a very self-indulgent decade. And Reagan had just been elected, and maybe he was going back to some basics. One of the things that I actually found interesting was I didn't realize that Paul and John had seriously discussed having a concert in Central Park, that their relationship had healed to that point, and that there had even been discussions about getting permits for that type of thing. That's it, Chapman said to himself, letting the gun hang limply at his side. He couldn't believe he'd actually followed through on his plan. Yoko ran for cover. John staggered up the 6 steps into the building security area. "I'm shot," he muttered, and crumbled onto the ground, blood dribbling from his mouth. Chapman stood there, watching Yoko rush over to her husband and cradle his body. Concierge Jay Hastings took off his uniform jacket, placing it on the former Beatle's bloody chest, and removed John's glasses. Neither Hastings nor Yoko looked at Chapman. All their focus was on John. Now that the firing had stopped, they didn't even seem afraid of the gunman. He really was a nobody. Chapman had been hanging out there for days. One of the neighbors told me, some were a little concerned. They said, this guy is kind of weird. And they say, look at him, he's harmless. We knew it'd be 30 years since John Lennon had been shot. And to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the room, in many ways, it doesn't seem all that long ago. And I thought, well, this is an opportunity to really paint a picture of that time, because otherwise that time is going to fade into history. And it's not just about John Lennon, it's about what New York was like at that time. You know, everybody has a story about that day, and Backbeat Books has started a blog that we've been compiling. You know, a lot of people told me great stories that didn't get into the book. So if anyone has a great story about, or just a regular story about what they were doing that day, if you go to rememberingjohnlennon.com, include that in the blog, because I find even the stuff that sounds very mundane, when you look at it in the context of everybody else's story, there's something very poignant about it.